Hi, it's Izzy Busy. Hola, amigos. And talk to you right away about what's concerning me. And I found that even though I'm aware of what went wrong in our marriage, I'm still in love with my ex-husband, and I'm trying to fall out of love with him, and I'm finding it extremely difficult because during the 17 years of our marriage, I was reading a lot of self-help books and listening to a lot of self-help videos and so on. And there's always this thing about positive thinking, and you should always look at the positive sides of things and not focus on the negative, and focus on the good things, what's so good in your marriage, and focus on your partner's assets and not his deficiencies, not his, and just be generally focused on what is good. And I think I did this to perfection, and I was sort of taught myself to appreciate the little things, and there were not many little things. Like, they talk about the crumbing, the narcissist doing the crumbing. That means they will throw crumbs at you now and again just to keep you hooked, and that's what was happening. He would throw little things at me. Maybe he would once in a blue moon spontaneously hug me, or give me a kiss, or pay me a compliment, very sporadically. And because it was so unpredictable, I got hooked on that, and I would say to myself, oh, things are getting better, things are improving. He does show me his love, he does show me his appreciation. So, and I'd focus on these tiny little, these tiny windows of hope that would open in my grey sky, and I would perfect this, and unfortunately I'm paying the price for it now, because I'm trying to fall out of love with him, which I have to do because there's no way back. I'm not going back to that marriage. I know I left for a reason, and no matter what people are, want to tell me, or if they want to be judgmental about it, I'm not someone who gives up easily, and I have tried my best. I have tried to work on this marriage. I really worked my ass off, and I did everything possible to improve things between us. But when you're the only one who's taking all the initiative, who's making all the suggestions, who's always bending over backwards to please that person, then eventually you have to come to the realization that what you're doing is maybe not working. I mean, they say that insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. And that was me. I was just going insane in that way, that I hoped that by telling him, I'd like to go out more, I'd like you to initiate intimacy between us, but he would not do it anyway. So no matter what I said, and then he would probably, if I insisted too much, he would start yelling at me and calling me names and telling me that I was ungrateful, too sensitive, that I was a bitch, and you name it. He would just fly into a rage. So I was very scared of that part, and I tried to avoid it the best I could. So now I realize that what I have to do, actually, which is the opposite of what I was doing while I was with him, I need to focus on the negative sides of him. And it's actually not that difficult, because there are a lot of videos out there about narcissistic behavior, narcissists. Especially, I think the most comprehensive one is Dr. Ramani. She has some really, really good videos, very informative and not biased, not dramatic. I mean, she's very matter of fact, and she explains things in a professional way, not in a judgmental way. That's what I like about her. So, but every time I watch her videos or listen to them, because sometimes you don't need to watch them, you can just put the earphones in your ears and listen to them. while I'm walking or do something else. And I realized that all the things she's describing, they all apply to my ex. And I thought he had actually mild narcissistic traits. But now I've come to the realization that his level of narcissism was actually quite severe. And that he was almost like a sociopath, you know, with his lack of empathy and his almost, there was a paranoia feel about, about him, the way he sensed things, and everyone was out there to get him and to harm him. The world was an evil place, and it was always... with me, if I said anything or made a suggestion, what do you want of me? And you're such an ungrateful bitch, and you're mentally insane, or you're too sensitive. And the gaslighting would happen, which means, gaslighting is another term. I don't really like to use jargon because some people might not be aware of it, or I feel like jargon is always a bit judgmental and you're trying to put people in a category, but gaslighting mainly, it means that you're denying someone their reality in a way that you're denying them their feelings, and you're denying them their perception, and you're basically invalidating that person. So I felt invalidated. So in the end, I didn't open my mouth anymore, and I kept everything to myself. But of course, I do miss... What do I miss about our time together is simple things, just having someone there, and someone, and another adult, similar in age to me, I talk to, and sometimes, he wasn't all bad. Of course, no one's all bad, and there were some good times, like when we would watch TV series together or stuff like that. But I need to forget about I need to do the opposite of what you're doing when you're trying to fall in love with someone or trying to rescue your relationship, and they say, focus on all the good times and why did you fall in love with this person and how wonderful it was in the beginning and things like that. Now I need to focus on the negative. And it's very hard for me because my brain tends to cling to the positive things rather than the negative ones, and I think that's why I'm also so resilient, because I can forget about the negative, but then it's also becomes a skewed version of reality, because the reality was I was in a toxic relationship and he was emotionally abusive towards me, and he destroyed me as a person. I wasn't who I used to be. In the end, I became a shell of who I was. I was a robot. I was a functioning robot, and but inside of me, I wasn't there anymore. I had checked out, and that's why I got all these health problems as well. They say if you're in a toxic relationship, even though you think you can cope, and even though you're putting up with everything, your body will show you that this is not the case. And I will talk about it in a later video. I'm trying to overcome these issues, and I'm very positive that I will, because thank goodness I didn't get cancer or anything really serious, but it could well be the case that you're going to develop a serious condition and even kill yourself in some way, maybe not directly but indirectly, because it's so it's such a horrible place to be in, and it's such a slow purgatory, of this, the slow purgatory of devaluation, and that follows the love bombing, the initial love bombing. After the initial love bombing, which they are experts at, and my ex was the best. He was the most attractive person when I got to know him. He gave me everything. He was loving, he was gentle, he was helpful, he was patient, he was good with my kids in the beginning, yes. He was a fantastic lover. We had the most wonderful sex, and all that, as soon as we moved in together. So 1 year into the relationship, when you moved in together, that all went to SHIT and slowly, not slowly, quite rapidly deteriorated. And then, it never really went back to that. But I think I was always grieving that initial stage of the love bombing, which, it made me feel so good to finally be loved by someone and appreciated and shown affection and, just the normal stuff that happens when a person loves you. And but that it would never come back again. Throughout our relationship, not once did he initiate sex once we lived together. So that was definitely, that passion was dead. And very rarely initiated any affection. I was constantly, I was frustrated, but I'm not even going to say I was sexually frustrated. I was frustrated in the way that I missed that bond, that bond between two people, and that I had, that he had given me to begin with, that really nice, strong and passionate and loving bond, but that wasn't there anymore. And yes, so I need to really now focus on all the negative stuff, his anger, his rage. He would so easily fly into the most horrible tantrums and rages and yell at me and call me names, sometimes break stuff, and you could just see the violence in his eyes. These eyes would change, and you'd have this staring and this horrible staring and evil look in his eyes. It's like a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. He was sometimes a really nice person, especially when there were other people around, visitors, family, friends. He put up this really nice front, and everyone said, "Oh, what a nice guy, and you're such a nice couple together, you two," and blah blah blah. And but that was, I think it was all for show, and he could put it on really well, and sometimes he could pretend, even with me, to be that loving person, especially when he'd had a few drinks. When he had a few drinks, he would either become very nasty or very loving, so he was either the Mr. Dr. Jekyll or the Mr. Hyde that would come out. But when the nice person came out, of course, I would lap it up. I would just I would be ecstatic, because this was my dream. This was why I'd married him, and this is the person I wanted to be with. I didn't want to be with Mr. Hyde, but then Mr. Hyde was a reality as well, and I didn't want him to be a reality, And you end up dreading that part, and you don't want that part to come out. So what you do, you bend over backwards for that part not to come out, and you deny yourself your own feelings, your own emotions. You suppress all that, because it's just too risky, because that Mr. Hyde could come out, and he's like a monster, he's like this cartoon, The Incredible Hulk or whatever, this average man becomes all green and becomes a terrible monster. But it's a transformation, and if you haven't experienced it, you wouldn't know what it is. It's not just simply someone getting angry. That narcissistic rage is quite unique, and it is very, very scary, because you didn't know that this could be possible, and this is not the person you signed up for. This is not the person you fell in love with. But this is also the person who is part of this person. He's not just the nice guy, he's the horrible guy as well. So you really need to acknowledge both. It's like a multiple personality type of situation, because there's such totally different entities, and this is very, very confusing, and I think it's very damaging to anyone's self-esteem, mental health. You start to doubt yourself. You really doubt your own reality after a while. You said, is that even possible, or did I just imagine this? It's just unbelievable, So yeah, at this stage I need to work very hard so I can fall out of love with my ex once and for all, because I don't want to be stuck in this cycle and in this toxicity and this dysfunctional relationship. I just don't want that anymore for myself. I want to live a free and happy life where I can be myself, I can express myself, I can be the person that I was meant to be, with all my emotions, with all my defects of character as well, because I'm not a perfect person, but when you love someone, you should love the whole package, the person with their qualities and their defects. So yeah, this is where I'm at, and I'm gonna make an update in a while to see how I'm going. Just have to go to work now, so I hope you have a really good day, and make sure you drink your water, take your vitamins, and do some exercise and go out in the fresh air. Anyway, thanks for listening. I really appreciate it.